Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
Good, great.
All right, so last group we talked a little bit about what your main goal is, right? Say right, Mike.
Right, Mike.
Thank you. I need constant validation. I do.
Ooh, I like that
do.
constant what? Elevation.
No, validation.
Oh, validation.
I need you to tell me how awesome and great I am.
I'll write that down, Mike.
Okay, so, all
Currency.
right, like I was saying, I asked you all before the main goal, right? What is the main goal?
Stay sober.
Stay sober. Become the people that God wanted you to be. Kick ass. Stop getting high. Stop fucking shit up. Be good dads. Stop losing jobs. Whatever it is, the main goal. So, is there anything that goes on here that should really get in the way of that? Not really. Yeah. Nothing. I mean, when you're talking about main goal stuff, like you're trying to talk about, like, let all that stuff, like whatever it is. Yes.
I think you said in the first meeting, and it made sense to me, just for me, that when you said, what's life or death? And the only thing that I can think of in my life is life or death is the 12 steps.
Yeah.
So,
It just, what we don't realize how everything intertwines with everything. Like I just said, if I asked everybody in here what their main goal was and what they're trying to do, everybody says what you just said, right? And then we start going through here, and then it's like, well, you know what? This one's annoying, that one sucks, this counselor doesn't do anything, and we start we start letting these little things interfere with our main goal. And we really don't want to do that. Now, what we're going to talk about today in this group, since we're going to talk about coping skills, because there's not too many healthy, well-adjusted people in here with coping skills, we're also going to talk about trauma and pain. Because like I told you guys before, the one thing that every single person has in here in common is pain, right? Like, anybody in here want to volunteer when they started experimenting or using, at what age? You know what, we're just going to go around the room and everybody's going to tell me. Guadalupe, at what age did you start partying or doing your thing or?
When I was in high school, because I dropped out at 11.
16, 17?
Oh, about 16.
Now, at this point in your life right now, when can you look back on it and say, at this age, it was probably out of control and a problem?
When I was in the military, about 21.
21. So 3 or 4 years, it was clearly, at this point in your life, you clearly realized it was a problem. Did you go through anything back then? Was there any significant trauma or any type of pain, or is it just that you pushed that magic button?
Not really, but while I was doing alcohol, I had a head-on collision.
Okay.
I was in the military. I got arrested because it was my fault.
Okay. What kind of childhood did you grow up in?
What kind of childhood?
Yeah. Mom and dad, drug addicts?
Yeah,
alcohol?
they were good parents.
Okay.
Yeah, they were good parents. They, we were brought up the right way.
Yeah.
Just that I wanted freedom.
Yeah. It was a strict household?
Pretty much.
Did you walk around on eggshells a lot?
If I did something wrong,
Yeah.
didn't do my chores.
Yeah. Okay. So it's almost like that institutionalized type of thing. It was like once you got out of the house, you kind of went crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. What age did you start drinking, getting high?
24.
24? Now, why so late?
I started drinking when I was older.
Okay. And when did it become a problem? Pretty much right away?
Right now,
How old are you?
31.
31. So 5 or 6 years. And are you sure it didn't become a problem a little sooner?
No.
Really? Because listen, I don't know about you, but I did not wind up in treatment the week or day that it became a problem.
It started at 24, but it didn't stop. Like, it was pretty fast.
Yeah, pretty fast. Okay. Pam?
Really didn't start hard drinking or partying until I was about 29.
Okay.
Go out for drinks here and there
Yeah.
throughout that. But I held jobs, 3 jobs.
Did you go through your first divorce then?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of trauma ramped up to, because this is what kind of the thing is, guys. A lot of times we use them, we're running around, I don't know, we're getting high, we're doing whatever. I say drinking and getting high, it's the same shit. A lot of times we get a traumatic event like a divorce or an accident or, whatever, loss of a loved one. A lot of times it's a relationship thing, and why do we So here we are, we're drinking and getting high, and it feels great, right? Then we go through some shit that levels us. What do we lean to? What? No. What? No. Yeah. Because here's, you know what I mean? We start using it to cope. Like here's me. From the age of 17, I started smoking weed. I started smoking weed every day. I hate using the word functioning, recreational, whatever you want to call it, but I'm using drugs and doing things here or there, whatever. But it wasn't until I got a little bit older where I had home invasion, 2 of them in 3 weeks, and then an investigation. And then I found my brother dead of an overdose. It was like the only thing, like painkillers were the only thing that was getting me out of bed in the morning, able to put one foot in front of the other. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know how to cope with that type of stuff. Had zero clue. You know what I mean? And that is some painful type of stuff to go through. And listen, a lot of you have a lot of worse stuff. But here's the deal. My story's the worst. Because it's my story.
Right.
Where your story, you know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. As much as I can empathize and love you and really try to understand Kyle, you got no legs, right? I can't even possibly understand that. But I can look at you and, you know, empathize in this. But it's like, I would never know what that's like. I could picture it or imagine it, but I can't know what it's like to be you unless I rolled in your You know what I'm saying? Like, I really can't. Like, I have no idea. And that's the thing. Like, we don't really know what somebody else has been through. And the trauma and the pain, like, I promise you, I say this all the time. If you don't deal with your trauma, it's going to deal with you. How many people in here, and I'm gonna keep going around the room, but one more question on that. How many people in here were in an unhealthy relationship at one time in their life or another?
Oh yeah, it made me go out. That's already out.
All right, well, no, here's the thing, and I really want you to look at it. How many people in here are in the same relationship over and over, like with different people, but it's the same unhealthy relationship over and over?
Bartenders. I'm serious.
Yeah, but
No, it's what you attract once you, like, that's what kind of energy you bring, you get the same person.
yeah, well, I think it operates on such a subconscious level too, Chris. It operates on such a conscious level. It's like, for some reason, the reason why they excite us is for all the wrong reasons. It's like completely unhealthy, but we're attracted to it.
Because they can train as much as I can train.
Well, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's, you know, but that's, so we'll do the same things over and over. It's crazy how we constantly set ourselves up for failure or for hurt, and we do it over and over and over. Who in here grew up around a really healthy, well-adjusted mom and dad marriage type of life? Really? So what
They've
the
been married 40 years.
Well, that's not always saying. My parents are married a long time, and they're not, trust me, the fact that they're married still definitely means something.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, is it like that type of...
My parents are the best.
Okay,
I
good.
can't knock them, you know.
Listen, and I'm not trying to do that.
No,
Listen, because there's got to be some people out there doing it right. You know what I mean? Like, but I just know that, like, and my parents are still together. But they're, you know, they're crazy and so, you know, and they
I mean, don't get me wrong, they still have their, you know, their downfalls, but
Of course.
I had strict, you know,
Yeah.
I came from a good upbringing.
Yeah.
Very good upbringing.
So where was I? All right, so who did I stop off? All right, so go ahead, answer my question.
I started using alcohol and weed at 15.
Okay.
I had 2 older brothers, you know, everybody knew in the town, and they looked up to them. And
So
I fell in love.
when did it ramp up? When did it start? Like, what, you know,
25.
25. Did you go through something? Was there something that, because it doesn't always happen to be
I-
like that, but it is a lot of the times.
Yeah, I was in a relationship I just gotten out of. She left me for money.
Leveled you.
Leveled me. I just hung my cleats up, wasn't playing no sports no more, so felt like I didn't have a purpose and just started picking up everything.
And it's like, man, because when I'm in pain, I don't know about you, but to this day, when I'm in pain, what do I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Say it.
Feel better.
Feel better. When I'm in pain, I want to feel better, right? I mean, isn't that all of us? So,
25, I started using everything.
yeah.
Anything I could get my hands on.
Yeah, it's like, you know, this feels good, this might feel better, let me try that. Yeah. Go ahead, Trey.
I guess probably started with marijuana, you know, probably 7th, 8th, 9th grade is when I started smoking marijuana.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
more than I should have been.
Let me know when you can look back on it and say, man, either the consequences started piling up or it was just completely obvious to you that, like, I have a serious problem.
I was probably 20-ish when I started.
Yeah.
When bad things started happening.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, consequences.
Yeah, consequences.
Dude, don't I say that all the time? Why? What's the only reason we wind up in a place like this, or AA, or the hospital, or anything? What's the only two things that gets us to come into a place like
Because
this?
we're fucked.
And they're the same thing. It's pain and consequences. It's the only reason why we come into it. Because without pain and consequences, the shit's still working. It's still all good. It's still all good. Now, at that time, was it just like you were just using a lot, or did you go through a breakup, or did you go through something?
Like I told you before, I have an inferiority,
Yeah.
complex. Or whatever. I was very insecure.
That's the self-esteem.
Yeah, I was always, started using because I wanted to be cool and shit like
Be
that.
accepted,
Yeah.
be liked. It gives us, hey, did drinking or getting high ever give somebody an identity that they didn't feel like they had?
Yep.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It gives you, it gives you community, gives you something to be a part of. Kind of makes you feel like a badass too,
It
right?
does.
Like, because when you feel that when you feel inferior like that, or when you feel disconnected to people, you're looking for something to connect you, to latch on to. It's like, it's almost that rebellion thing. Like, I told you, like me growing up, like I would look up to the street guys, the guys that were doing this, because I told you, my first drug of choice as a kid was fantasy. I used to fantasize about doing what I want, when I want, not hearing it from nobody. So I see these street guys and I'm looking up to them. Do those guys do what they want, when they want? They don't care what anybody says. So I'm like, I want to do that.
So here, that's exactly what and that's all I ever wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm having this whole group and I'm trying to talk about it, because sometimes the trauma ramps up our using and sometimes it doesn't. Like I tell you all the time, if you're anything like me, my whole entire life I've been in pain and uncomfortable, and that's why the drugs and alcohol felt so good, because I'm a very sensitive type of person. So drugs and alcohol feel extra good to me. And I've always been in pain. I've always been, listen, just like you said, Trey, I was always like that. I always wanted, like even when I was accepted and a part of, I always felt unaccepted. Like I always felt like if they actually really knew.
Right.
And then how did I cope with it? It stayed altered.
Well, because that's the thing. The way our mind works and goes and places and thinks and obsesses over things, it's like it kind of shuts it off for a little bit. It's like, oh, we breathe a sigh of relief. Kyle, let me hear it.
I was pretty much a square all the way through high school.
I cannot picture that, my friend.
Yeah, I grew up in like a middle class home, but my dad was an alcoholic. But I can tell you the first time I was exposed to alcohol was when I was 12 or 13. We ended up going to a baseball game, and he had me breathe into this tube, but I didn't know what it was.
It's the only way he was starting his car.
Oh my God, he had you do that.
Yeah, but the military was when I started drinking, and then I had trauma, and then that's when I started using hard drugs,
Yeah.
opiates.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we really like this shit. We like it more than, we like it more than regular people, right? Or normal people, whatever you want to call it.
Like more like sober.
But that's what I was just gonna get to, right? Like, do we really like getting high so much, or do we hate being fucking sober?
Right.
Because sober, we're restless, irritable, discontent, uncomfortable, anxious, angry, anxious. I said that already, but uncomfortable.
Yep.
And that shit kind of just makes everything okay for the minute. Sean.
Probably started to get bad for me around 26, 27, because that was when.
Well, when did you start? I'm just sorry.
The first time I ever drank, I was 12.
Okay.
But yeah, I came back from my last deployment, found out that my ex had been cheating on me while I was laid up in a hospital bed in Afghanistan. That'll
level you, right? I mean, that hurts.
I kicked her out of the house, and then I was active duty in the military as a single father with 2 children, doing everything on my own,
Yeah.
5 a.m. in the morning until I finished the bottle at night.
Yeah.
And then 2.5 years after that, because I was still a single father with 2 kids active duty, they wouldn't allow my re-enlistment package to go through, so I wasn't allowed to stay in the military anymore. So.
Which that gave you a sense of belonging and want and it made you feel useful. So now you can't go to the military anymore. What are you feeling? Rejected again?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so with that, then I really started going through about a fifth a night, plus some beers here and there, until it eventually got to the point where I was going through about a half a gallon a night.
Damn.
So,
I knew you were a badass. So, I mean, you had the issue, the problem, the whatever, the dis-ease of self. Because you even told me, and if you don't mind, you had told me that you moved around a lot as a kid. That's got to be torture to somebody, right? Right? Imagine being the new guy every year. No, God, for a kid too. For a kid, imagine being the new guy. Like now, I got to make friends again. Now I got to try to, And as kids, man, we're not really all that. Like we don't understand. You're the new guy, and that must suck for you. We're like, who's the new guy?
Yeah, it was just.
Why does he dress like that? Why does he
so
talk
I
like
didn't
that?
even try and make friends half the time because I didn't know when I was gonna lose them. So if I don't have them to begin with, then fuck it.
And as a human being, innately, we want to be loved, liked, accepted, and part of. You know what I mean? So it's like, for that, you've probably had PTSD since the age of 8. You know what I mean? So that's why, you start drinking, you start like whatever, like that becomes, because listen, I've said this a million times, I say it all the time, if you're sitting in this room, the most close and personal, intimate relationship you've ever had is with drugs or alcohol. I mean, we relied and counted on it for so long, it became our everything.
Weird not without it.
Well, what does it say? What does it say in the doctor's opinion? Shivering denizens of King Alcohol in his mad realm. Like, that was us. Like, that bottle or the powder or whatever, it was like, it ruled. It ruled our every...
Regardless whether you want to believe it or not, it talks to you.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Anybody that's in this room believes that. People on the outside that might be like, come on, man, just don't do it. Yeah, if I could just don't do it, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have fucked everything.
Have 3 of me, and then you won't be having these stuff.
Exactly.
You're gonna want to watch 3 hours of comedy specials.
Yeah. And here's the thing, that's what I keep constantly saying. Do we really like getting high so much, or are we just looking for relief?
I think
No.
Yeah.
Are we just looking for relief?
But it's not getting. I'm not getting it.
Well, see, listen, that's why you wind up in a place like this when the shit stops working, or when it turns on you. When now the pain and the consequences, it's outweighing the good that it's doing. You know what I mean? Listen, I promise you might not believe this, but the fact that it stops working for you or turns on you or whatever, it's the best thing that's ever going to happen to you. Because now you got to find a different way. And with that different way comes different coping skills and learning to live life on life's terms instead of, because listen, way before, guys, listen what I'm telling you. Way before we're drug addicts and alcoholics, we're control freaks. We want everything to go our way. We're convinced that if it goes our way, it'll go smooth and everything will be perfect.
It'd be nice.
And how much shit have we got to go on our way? Because we are pretty powerful people and we're kind of manipulators and we kind of get we do kind of get our way when we want it, right?
It's just the wrong shit.
Yeah.
It's the wrong thing.
Which is kind of the conundrum, right? Where you're such control freaks, yet you realize you can't control.
That's exactly it. You know what I mean? And like I say all the time, like, here's the thing, you guys are really powerful, strong, intelligent, smart people. You guys kick ass. We got a lot of people in the military uni. I'm sure you guys are kicking ass out there. This is the only thing that you're not going to be able to master yourself. Because if it was, let's be real, if it was, you wouldn't be here. I mean, what did I tell you last group? I love you guys, and I would do anything for you guys, and I'll try to help, and I'll do whatever, but I would have never met anybody or been working in this field if I could have did this on my own. I would have tied a bow on it, kept it moving, and went about my life. I mean, wouldn't we have all done that?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, recovery is turning a negative into a positive, turning the worst thing into your life, becoming the best thing in your life. Becoming a heroin addict was the best thing that ever happened to me because it destroyed me. And I was able to build myself back up into the person that God wanted me, not the person I decided to be. That, like, those street guys that I really looked up to. I liked the way he did things and that one did things. So I patterned myself after them, but I was never really me. Do you understand what I'm saying? I was too afraid to be me. Because if you got to know me, like Guadalupe, if you got to know me, then you would actually see. And then you probably wouldn't want nothing to do with me. And then none of you would want nothing to do with me. And I'd be on an island all by myself alone. And that just wasn't acceptable for me. So I had to be something that you wanted me to be, so that way you looked up to me and liked me and wanted me to be a part of.
Like
You know what I mean?
acceptance.
Yeah, all I wanted to, listen, like I've told you this before, love and fear, right? The love and fear thing. We are completely consumed and ruled by fear our whole entire life. Like this gentleman right here, like how much fear come out of being the new guy all the time and being rejected and not being like, so he's running around in fear all the time. See, here's the thing, love is just the absence of fear. So when we put some alcohol or drugs or whatever in our body and that fear goes away, that really is manufacturing love in a certain way, and that's what we chase so much. So the drinking and the drugs and the girls and the men and the gambling, whatever it is, you're really just looking for love in something that will not love you back. It will take everything from you and destroy you. RJ.
Yeah, talking about moving back and forth. So I moved back and forth between 5th grade and junior year. So around 16, I was first introduced to Zen.
Well, what were you doing? Were you staying with mom and then staying with dad? Is that why you were moving?
Every year.
Okay. Okay, so every year you almost had to reinvent yourself. Or
Pretty much, but I like what you said earlier about like, you don't make friends because you don't know when you're going to lose them.
Yeah.
And
what does that really come from? That really comes from being scared to death to put yourself out there because you might be rejected and you're like, fuck it, I'm just going to take myself out of the equation so I can't be rejected and you can't hurt me and I'm in control and I control that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Getting back to what I said before, how we're control freaks. Because when we think it might go bad, we're going worst case scenario so that we can get there and it's on our terms and we can kind of play it that way.
And then so all that, so they introduced me to Xanax, and to me Xanax is like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like it put everything out of my head, all the pain, the suffering, the
It's like a warm blanket on a cold soul.
Exactly. It's like a nice hug.
Yeah, yes, a good hug. That's even better.
So that put me, and that was a hard one to kick, really, because I was taking, like it instantly went to
Abuse.
Yeah, abuse, like instantly. So when I took that first one, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So then, once I turned 21 and I could get alcohol easily, because you know, before you turn 21, you gotta go through all this.
Yeah, I know. It's easier for kids to get drugs than alcohol.
Yeah.
It's always been like that.
So then at 21, I started drinking. I could drink still and not drink during the day, right? Like afternoons, I'd kill like a bottle a day.
Yes.
And then at work, I'd be fine, and then I'd kill another bottle a day. And then it got to the point in these last few years where I was drinking as soon as I woke up to I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
Yeah.
So I was only able to kick the Xanax because
You switched addictions.
Exactly.
Yeah. And listen, I don't know if anybody ever told you this, but say Xanax and Valium and Klonopin and stuff like that, they really do the same exact thing to your central nervous system in your brain as alcohol does. They're, like some people will call it a pill form of alcohol.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're looking, I mean, you're basically chasing that high with the alcohol.
Yeah, and I was.
Yeah.
Like, I knew I couldn't take Xanax anymore because of like of what it did for my life. But I moved to alcohol, and then to me for the longest time, like you know how he said like he wasn't making friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was the guy that would do all this shit by myself. And to me it was like to black out was normal, to forget shit was normal.
Oh, the Xanax like the mind eraser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had it gave me those benefits, but then I started losing track of time. I know
Yeah.
like
Well-
what day it was and shit. And then I was doing the same thing on the alcohol that I was doing on the Xanax.
Yeah. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I'm
Okay, tell us your name too, because you know I didn't get to introduce you to everybody because you were already here, but
Adrian Brown.
this is Adrian. Welcome, man. This is a good place.
Nice to meet you.
Adrian.
I think when I first started using, I was about 17. When it started getting out of hand, probably about 5 years ago, 7 years ago. And here I am.
Okay.
Getting out of hand up until this morning.
Did you experience any type of trauma?
Yeah, I think when my mom and my dad divorced.
And listen, that's a serious thing too. That's a real serious thing that some people, you know what I mean? Like that happens a lot.
Yeah.
It really does. And if a divorce, a divorce, car accident, whatever. If you don't deal with these in a sober, healthy, proper way, and you're not talking about it, you're not dealing with it, and you're using behind it, I mean, you're just stuffing that stuff down, and you're never dealing with it, and it's, you know what I mean? Like, this is, guys, I'm telling you, like, we didn't wind up here in one day. Like, we got a lot of things that need to be cleared out and fixed and worked on, and, you know, that's why I wanted to have this group today, because we lack coping skills, and we're all carrying around a ton of shit.
I started drinking and smoking marijuana when I was 19. My parents had just gotten a divorce. I grew up in a strict household. My father was the principal.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Did you go to the same school as your father was the principal?
No.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
good. Because oh, you did?
My mom was a career counselor, my dad was the maintenance director for the school district.
Okay, but I almost think it'd be worse if your dad was the principal, because then everybody would be like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Would have been way worse.
Yeah.
But, so my mom kicked my dad out of the house and I had no supervision. And
he just kind of went crazy.
I went crazy.
Yeah.
And I ended up, my father refused to pay for my college, so I had to pay for my own college. So I had to get a job. And I stopped drinking. And then when I graduated, I got a job. I moved to Montrose area in Houston. And I had money, I had an apartment, and
by this time,
I used to drink.
The beast is out of the cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when it really got out of hand. I was about 24.
Okay. So, Chris.
You ready for me?
Yeah, I am, because we're going to do boom, boom, and then...
All right, well, my first addiction was stealing. I had high hands at the age of 12, but then I started, at the age of 14, I started stealing weed from my mama. On top of that, I had 3-star quarterbacks that was seniors in high school, and one of them being a quarterback. So I started smoking with them. And of course, being I was smoking with them, you know, when I went to school, I was hanging with them. So everybody was like, oh, dang, you know, as a freshman or whatever. Then as I get through high school, I finally decided to join the military. And of course, as soon as I touched down at my first duty station, we was deploying. So I really didn't do nothing in that time frame. So now I'm about 22 maybe, and then that's when I came back and I started drinking heavy after you know what happened, and ever since then it's been, I could take a bottle to the head and it wouldn't feel nothing, we'd be ready for the next one. And
there's a lot of pain, a lot of stuff over there that doesn't come natural to us as human beings, right? And it's like, I was sponsoring a guy, and he just couldn't get right with, you know, and he had a year at one point. And he would come in and come out, and he said, you know what, Mike, they called him Rhode Island Mike, because he was from Rhode Island, they called me New York Mike. And long story short, he went to a year-long program, and he made it a month, and he left, and he stole a car, and he killed himself. Because the stuff that goes on in war, and the stuff that goes on over there, it doesn't sit right. Like, we are not put on earth to do that. And it goes against our natural composition and our makeup, and it tears us up. You know what I mean? And you can get past it, you can get through it, but you gotta work through it. Like, just saying shit like, man, it was what it was, or it is what it is, like, that's not the way, I mean, this is serious stuff. That's really serious stuff, Chris, and thank you for sharing, because...
I'll never understand it.
Well...
I mean, I don't get it, but I don't get it.
No, of course, because like I just said about mine, like, mine shit's the worst to me, because it happened to me, and it affected me, and I know how it affected me in all facets. I could never understand what he's went through or what Kyle's went through. Like, I could never. And the one thing I know is you need to talk about it. Pain shared is pain lessened. Now, like, say me and you had a side conversation and we talked about it. It's not going to fix it all up. It's not going to make everything better. Like, that's never going to happen. But it might just make you feel a little bit better for the day. You know what I'm saying? You get it off your chest and you get it out there and you're like, okay. Sometimes that's all we can do is little bit by little bit work to a better, you know? And the one thing I say to all you guys vets in here is all your guys' stories and the things that you've been through are so important and so powerful. And it's your number one asset in a way, because when you go out and you get your head right, you can help other people get their head right. And what could be more important than that? You know what I mean? Because, listen, America does their vets dirty. You know what I mean? And I'm not blaming the government. I'm not like, but like, you know, this, you know, you get sent over there and then you come back here and it's like, okay, go back to world. You know what I mean? And it's not that easy. It's not that easy. I mean, as human beings, man, we're walking around here, especially people like us that are sitting in a room, we're damaged. We're damaged, and we didn't have the coping skills to deal with it. A lot of us, the only coping skill we had was to use or drink, which is really running and hiding. And when we come back here, we go to the one coping skill that we had, and then it just becomes out of control. And the thing is, like, you know, what did I tell you guys all the time? Like, you use a certain amount of chemicals and narcotics and drugs, and you will change your brain chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be, on a conscious and subconscious level, you will think about drugs and alcohol more than you think about anything throughout the day. How do you fight something like that?
It's like more than you want to breathe sometimes. Like for real. Like fuck, I'd rather that than...
Yeah, because, listen, I say all the time, who in here believes this is a disease? Everybody puts their hands up, and I get it. I mean, they've been talking about that shit for so long, it's almost like everybody's ingrained to believe it. But do you really believe it? Like, is it something that you really accepted and encompassed? Because if that was the case, then you need to be doing everything you can to save your life and do better, because you have a disease and an illness and a sickness that's progressive, incurable, and fatal. Unless you're doing everything you can to beat it, it's going to beat you. I promise you. Go ahead, Daniel.
I think the more I stay on my meds, the less I want to do the drug. If I just stay on my fucking medication, then I'm supposed to be on it. Well, anyways,
How'd that work last 4 times you left here?
I never stayed on it.
Oh,
I stopped taking my shit.
okay.
And then I just self-medicate.
Okay.
I've been that way since I was... So I
Well, you know that's what we're all doing too, right?
Yeah.
We're all self-medicate. Yeah, okay, good.
Well, I mean, the bipolar part. But, like, I didn't know that I really had that. I didn't want to believe in it anyways. But, I mean, I grew up in a household with Dutch parents, so it was, like, normal.
I have no idea what that means.
It means, like, alcohol was normal.
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Like,
I get it. I'm Irish.
Like, I was making the drinks for him as a young age. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay, so-
first time I drank was young. I can't even tell you the age. I don't know. But 14, 15 comes around, I'm starting to drink heavy. I'm smoking a lot of weed, I'm hooking everybody up. And then 16, high school, I'm doing a lot of acid and all that other shit and MDMA. And I was the one that carried it. I would have it and sell it.
And do you see how I was saying before, like innately, more than anything, especially as a kid, we want to be accepted and loved and liked. And it's like all of a sudden, you've got an identity.
People walking around because they have the drug.
Like you, Chris, right? Like you're the guy with, listen, I get that. I was always a decently popular kid and had friends and stuff like that. But man, when I started selling drugs, and in the type of environment, I got arrested when I was 16 years old. And I came back into school the next day and I was like, motherfuckers were like, so, like, it was like the greatest thing ever. I'm like, I swear to God, like, I was like, you know, yeah, no, I know. I get all this attention and this and that. And it was like, oh, and here's the crazy thing. So what's that? So this told me that, like, if I stay doing this, people will like me and accept me. So it was like all my self-esteem was what put in and what other people thought of me.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the crazy part. Not the people that really love me and know me and like me, my mother, my sister, my brother, you know, my close friends. No, I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about these people out there that really don't.
Sucking the shit out of you.
That really don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
I get all ramped up here.
No, it's okay, but that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you know, what I'm really trying to say is, like, we've been doing this looking for love. Like, you ever heard that, looking for love in all the wrong places?
Yeah,
and it's like, we love this shit. Like, so deep down, like, even when we know it's fucking our whole entire world up, there's this thing that, like, because like I said, Dan, read step 1 for me.
We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable.
Why do you think there's so much denial in this disease? What do you think the most important word in that whole sentence is?
Believe?
No.
Had. It's not even in there.
What?
Admitted, that's right.
No, because our lives had become unmanageable.
Oh, okay.
Because here's the thing, for a very long time, for most of us, even the 3 or 4 year people, 3 or 4 years is a long time.
Right.
For a very long time, this shit was our everything and it worked.
Put in the past.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, at one point, we, you know, way past when we should notice, at one point we noticed, man, my life has become unmanageable and I need to stop doing this. Why? Like, so it should, all right, well, I know it's bad for me. I should be able to just stop and walk away. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. You can't find it? Okay. So when it comes to coping skills, what are some other coping skills?
The coping skills that I do, for me,
Well, anybody, like
I mean,
anybody.
I go walk in nature, so.
Yeah, or
Meditation helps me a lot.
meditation.
Jogging.
A hobby.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the whole thing. I mean, really, like a lot of.
Hobby is a big thing for me, like making
But
stuff.
what's so? All right, let me ask you. What's a hobby gonna do? Like
I
like
can't use it
if your mother listen, if your mother passes away,
Fuck.
what's making toy furniture gonna do for you?
No, that would fuck me up.
No, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, listen, it's good to have a hobby and it's good to do this type of stuff, like even exercise and this and that. That's a great thing to add, but I'm talking about real coping skills. And here's the coping skills I'm talking about. Talking to somebody, talking to a professional, talking to somebody who's not a professional, talking through it, going through it, sitting through it, and growing from it. Because what's our first reaction to?
Going back to what we know.
Run. Whether it's getting high or not, we run. Listen, it happens all the time in here. People get uncomfortable. See, you break down the word disease, dis-ease, right? We have a dis-ease of self. So even though we put the drugs and the alcohol down, we come into a place like this, and the first 7, 10, 12 days, we're like, man, this is a nice place. It's pretty cool. Mike's cool. This one's cool. Hey, the food's good. It's this, that. And then all of a sudden, guess who we're left with after 13, 16, 19 days? Ourselves. And then all of a sudden, this is bullshit, that's bullshit. Dan drives me crazy because he's walking around with one plastic leg. Like, everything in the world is pissing me off and driving me crazy. And is it really that? Is it really that? No. It's what I got going on inside. And that's when I'm like, man, I'm going to go to another treatment center. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Because it must be that. It must be that. It can't be me. It can't be the fact that, like, you know, I might just crazy. I might just have to sit through something and let some time go by.
That's right.
And that's why, like, really, the only thing you can do is kind of talk to somebody about what you're going through, because we feed off each other. And like I said, pain shared is pain lessened. Like when I was going through my divorce, or I was missing my kids, or this and that. Like, do you think it made me, Chris? You think it made me feel that much better to talk about it? No, because did it change my circumstance? No, but you know what? Just that I had somebody that cared, and you know, I'm talking to Chris, and he's like, "Yeah, man, Mike, that's fucked up," and this and that. And it was just like passing time, and it got through, and whatever the case was, and you know what I mean? Like, and then I prayed a little bit about it, and I did whatever. But like, what I didn't do was run and hide and get high behind it. And then like a day passed, and then another day passed, and I kept doing those types of things, and I went through it. And I mean, we've all been through things. We've all been through things. You know what I mean? It's just what happens is, with the drugs and the alcohol, it becomes our only coping skill. And then if you've been through some serious trauma and you're using that to cope, you'll never process that shit, and you'll never go through what you're supposed to go through, especially if it's especially if it's a divorce or a loved one that's lost, or going through what you guys went through over there. Like, if you don't deal with that in a sober and healthy way, you're not gonna ever deal with it.
It is taking it day by day, consider it, and coping skills.
Yes, yeah. Like, listen, I promise you, most of a coping skill is just holding on for dear life and getting through the day. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, maybe you're the type of person that doesn't want to talk about anything with anybody. What do you think your chances are of getting through that day into the next one are? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, slim to none. If that, like, no, you need to talk about it. And here's the thing, guys, believe it or not, I don't know what it is, but it's like I said, I have a conversation with Chris one-on-one and we talk, it can be helpful. I don't know why, like, when I was going through some shit out here in Texas, when I was shared with the whole room, it made me feel better than if I shared it with one person. It was weird. Like, I don't know if I can prove that scientifically. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I know for me, when I shared it with a group, it made me feel better. I mean, there were times when I was like, man, I can't believe how good that felt. Like when and here's the thing too, like when I was going through my divorce and I was talking, I remember some guy said, hey man, Mike, that's rough, man. I got you one second. You got some stuff going on. He goes, but you know what, you gotta remember one thing. You're just another guy in America going through a divorce. And it made me realize, like, it made me able to realize, like, I was taking this whole thing a little too personally because it was happening to me. Yeah, man, I was just another guy going through a divorce and I needed to get past, you know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, jump off a bridge over it? No, I'm going to have to keep it moving. Yes.
It's true because you can't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, once you let it out, whether it's me talking about shit that happened overseas, or me talking about my ex-wife, or me talking about the shit that I'm dealing with right now, whether it was my fault or not, it's always going to weigh on you unless you fucking let it go. If you tell everybody about it, then there's nothing to hide, and you don't have to worry about keeping it on your shoulder.
You take the pain away, like you take the pain out of it a little bit. Yeah, no doubt. Yes,
It's
Arthur.
like when I'm related to him. It's like when you tell a secret, you don't have to hold it in anymore, and it feels good because you release it. It's kind of put your own life secret that you kind of talk about.
Well, like I was saying to Chris before about when, like, there's stuff that goes, like, listen, guys, human beings, when I tell you guys the roadmap, the Tahoe thing that I talk about, the roadmap was put into us to love each other, to teach each other, to nurture each other, and to care for each other. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So when some other stuff happens, it literally goes against, like, you know, I seen somebody do some things one time and they immediately started projectile vomiting. Like, they thought they were built to do that, and then they did some shit, and then they couldn't, you understand what I'm saying? Like, they realized, like, this is, I mean, it's so deep. Like, you could decide that you think you can do some stuff. I mean, listen, I brought this up the other day, that first 48, you watch that show.
Yeah.
How many people in there do some crazy shit? And then, I mean, it's like the weight of the world on them. Like they can't do. And
They don't want to get caught, yeah.
and they tell on themselves, right? They tell on themselves because they can't hold that shit in any longer. We need to be, guys, here's what I'm about to tell you. We need to be right with our conscience. We need to live and abide by our conscience as much as we can. And if you don't believe that, just listen to me. Remember when we were out living that other way and they're drinking and hiding and lying and cheating and stealing and doing all that other stuff? Didn't we do all that fucked up shit on a justification or a rationalization? How many people in here got high or drunk because I pay the bills and I do this and I do that and I deserve to? Yeah. And is that really, that is what you call a socially unacceptable excuse for socially unacceptable behavior. Why do we justify it? Because we actually have to be living, do you understand? Like, if it was really an okay thing to do, why would we have to make up a reason to do it? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, why would we have to justify it to ourselves?
Because your brain lies to you.
Well, it's like that, but that's how we skirt by the conscience. Oh man, if she's gonna give me a hard time for getting high, then I'm gonna leave the house and get high because, you know, or whatever it is. Like those listen, anything that you rationalize and justify, you should not be doing. But we do it anyway to skirt by our conscience. We need to be living by our conscience. The blueprint, the shit was already put into us before we were born. And the more you align yourself and live with that, the happier and freer you will be. That's what the 12 steps does. It allows you to put that shit in the past, unblock yourself, and get a new path on life. And I promise you, with every cell in my body, you will never feel so free and happy and okay with yourself. You won't have that, like I told you, my whole entire life, there was a war going on outside up in here. And I was pulling and this and that, and all I was doing was justifying and rationalizing all this messed up shit.
Well, yeah, that was kind of how my mom was working. Like, I was, you know, with a woman or whatnot, and every day I get off work, it was like, she would say, why every time you get off work, you gotta have a bill? And my mom would tell me, well, shit, I just did 12 hours. Like, I'm gonna go buy a cake just because you asked.
I'm gonna show you.
Yeah. That's how my mom
Yeah.
works.
Well, listen, here's the thing with me, right? Like, I would go to work and I would pay bills and I would go to daddy-daughter dances and I would coach Little League and I would take the kids and do this all the time. And I enjoyed doing that stuff. But I definitely but when do I get to chill? You know what I'm saying? There's my thing. Well, I do all this. How come I can't do that? Like you said, I just work 12 hours. Why can't I do this? I mean, it's crazy because there was a huge part of me that knew I wasn't supposed to be doing that. But I did it anyway because, like I was telling you guys before, that shit worked for so long. Like that shit, who said it before? It was like a hug. Like when I tell you, opiates to me were like a warm blanket on a cold soul. I've been shivering my whole life trying to feel better. My whole entire life looking at these two eyes, trying to, any person, place, thing, or situation, trying to feel better because I've been anxious, angry, nervous, uncomfortable my whole entire life, and all I ever wanted to do was feel better. I told you I didn't like getting high so much as I hated being sober. Can anybody in here, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's us. That really is us. Because this is the thing, if we liked being sober, why are we getting high and drinking around the clock? A lot of times, Chris, we're only sober because we know the time when we can drink. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, I can make it till then, Like, that's the only reason why I can be sober, because I know getting high is right at 4 or 5 o'clock.
For 5 days, I get my refills on my pills.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I know that.
That's the
bro.
best day, getting a refill pill.
He goes, what?
I get on cloud 9 on that day, but for 5 days I'd be miserable,
Yeah.
counting every fucking hour.
That's, I mean, so, all I'm trying to tell you guys is, like, I don't know where we went with this. We went to a whole bunch of different places.
No.
But if you're sitting in this room, like, please, please, please do everything you can to reach your main goal, because you will be so much happier than that life that you were doing. You can be so happy you don't even want to get high.
To be honest, these groups are making me feel a lot better.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was a good
Thank you. Now let's think.
Namaste.
Listen, I'm humbled by that shit, because here's the thing, guys. It's not me. This is not me. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is because I worked those steps and I let God come. I let God come into my life, and that's what comes out. When I'm talking about this, that's what comes out. It's not Mike. If Mike was up here 5 years ago, it's how to do drugs, sell drugs, hire lawyers, do this, do that. That's all I knew. You know what I'm saying? And now all I want to do is put you onto this, because I know what it's like. Hey, Gord, I know what it's like to have an anchor around your neck your whole entire life. And sometimes it's heavier and sometimes it's lighter, but the shit's always dragging you down. I don't have that anchor no more. And I want you not to have that. I want you to not, hey, I don't want you to be the guy that's got so much potential. I want you to be the guy that your parents say, God damn, man, we just wanted you to stop getting high. We didn't want you to be super awesome. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want for you guys, man. Every single person in here has the opportunity, the ability. What are you willing to do for it? What are you willing to do to not be sorry the way you were sorry the day you walked in here? All right, guys, go. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Mike.